Hello and welcome to my channel Lifestyle and Fashion Tea. I'm sorry to report another plane crash. What is going on? Let's get into this. This was in Pennsylvania. A small plane crashed into the parking lot of a retirement community in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, Sunday afternoon, injuring the 5 people aboard and damaging around a dozen vehicles, according to local authorities. The plane, a single-engine Beechcraft Bonanza, crashed around 3:18 p.m. ET on the property of Brethren Village Retirement Community in Manham Township, Scott Little. The chief of Manham Township Fire said at Sunday evening news conference 5 people were on board and were transported to local hospitals, according to Little. About a dozen cars were damaged, 5 severely, officials said. There was no structural damage to the retirement community building, and no one on the ground was injured, Little said. Wow. No one on the ground was injured. Wow. And no structural damage to the community. In spite of, God is amazing. Video of the scene shows the wreckage of the plane engulfed in flames and dark smoke. The fire has since been put out using copious amounts of water. The Federal Aviation Administration said it will investigate the crash, which comes after a devastating mid-air collision in January and a string of plane crashes across the country in Philadelphia. All 6 passengers and 1 person on the ground were killed when a medical evacuation jet crashed on January 31st. The pilot reported the plane had an open door in a radio conversation with air traffic controller. The controller instructed the pilot to pull up moments before the crash. The plane was scheduled to depart from Lancaster Airport just north of the crash site and was headed toward Springfield, Ohio. Pennsylvania State Police are on the ground assisting local first responders. Pennsylvania governor said in a post on X. The governor added that all Commonwealth resources are available as the response continues. One witness said the plane crashed shortly after takeoff. It was pretty high, but when it started veering left and suddenly its nose dived sideways while continuing to turn left. Pipkin said he rushed to the parking lot of the retirement center where he saw the cockpit of the plane engulfed in flames. He described the intense heat as feeling like opening an oven set to 500 degrees when you open the door and it hits your face. It was so hot, he said. I was getting closer, praying to God that nothing would blow up. CNN has reached out to Pennsylvania State Police and Manham Township Fire and Rescue for more information. There's not more information on this yet, but I will show you a brief news report and a brief update from the Manham Fire Department and Sheriff. Stay tuned.
Evening, we interrupt the golf with the breaking news happening right now in Lancaster County, where multiple medics and ambulances are on the scene of a plane crash near Lititz. We want to go live to News 8's Susan Shapiro, who's at the crash site. And Susan, what are you seeing right now?
McKenna, the plane went down about 3:30 in the parking lot of Brethren Village in the Fieldcrest building. This is just south of the Lancaster Airport. According to FlightAware, the plane had taken off from Lancaster Airport around 3:30 and was headed to Springfield Beckley Municipal Airport. That's in Ohio. And you can see the parking lot. The tail of the plane is just sticking straight up. There were at least 4 vehicles involved here that may have caught on fire. As you can see, there are burned out vehicles here. As for casualties, we don't know the number at this point. We are told there are multiple injuries. We did see a number of ambulances leaving this area along 501 in Manheim Township, and there is a huge police and fire presence at this hour. There's a hazmat team here, and we are told that the fire chief will be speaking to us, or the police chief from Manheim Township. There's a huge crowd, as you can well imagine, gathered here taking photos and just looking. We talked to one man who said he saw the plane in the air as he was headed into his apartment here at Brethren Village. He saw what looked to be an out-of-control plane, and then he saw a fireball in the parking lot. So certainly a scary event here for a lot of people. As we said, we don't know the number of casualties at this point. This is a private plane. It was registered to a corporation, according to FlightAware, in Manheim, and it is apparently a 6-seater plane, but we don't know how many passengers were on that plane. But as I said, we are being told there are 5 injuries, I'm being told now. 5 people were on this plane, and we don't know if anyone on the ground. I'm just told by my photographer here that 5 people were on the plane as we saw multiple ambulances leaving the scene. Still a very active scene, as you can well imagine. McKenna, back to you.
All right, thank you, Susan. Now, again, just confirming, we have confirmed with the FAA that 5 people were on board that plane. And we did just listen to air traffic control radio traffic, and the pilot of the plane is heard saying they needed to return to the airport because a door was open. Air traffic control cleared them to land, and moments later, you can hear air traffic control telling them to pull up. Now, we are updating our website in real time as we get new details. We've also posted a slideshow with all of the images and video we've gathered, as well as the governor's statement on X. That's online right now at WJL.com and on our WJL News app.
We're going to start with the police chief, but you guys can keep the mics over there. I am Dwayne Fisher, Chief of Police of Manheim Township. With me here today, to my left, is Chief Scott Little, the Chief of Manheim Township Fire and our Emergency Management Coordinator, Ed Foster, the Executive Director of Lancaster Airport, John Snyder, the CEO of Brethren Village, where the incident occurred, and to our left is County Commissioners Josh Parsons and Alice Yoder. I'll be turning this over to Chief Little for a statement in regards to what happened here today. Chief Little?
Yep. Thank you. Good afternoon. So today at 3:18 p.m., a small 6-seater aircraft, a Beechcraft Bonanza, crashed here on the property of Brethren Village. 5 passengers were on board. All 5 passengers were transported by local EMS agencies to local hospitals for treatment. No structural damage occurred on the Brethren Village property. We did have multiple vehicles catch on fire due to the aircraft. We are now transitioning to a recovery and an investigation phase, and we are awaiting additional information from our federal partners on next steps. At this time, is there any questions from the media?
Anyone on the ground hurt?
No, there was not. Only the 5 that were on the aircraft where the injured individuals have been transported to local hospitals.
Do you know the conditions?
Multiple vehicles, how many?
There's at least 5 vehicles that sustained damage on the Brethren Village property.
About a dozen in total, and 5 that were severely damaged.
Was the plane coming from Lancaster Airport?
Yes, the plane did take off from Lancaster Airport.
Any initial signs of duress from the plane?
We don't at this time. It is all under investigation by our federal partners.
Do you have the conditions?
Traffic control sounded like perhaps a door open that maybe could have clipped the wing or something.
That would be under the investigation on the our federal partners at this point.
Could you characterize the injuries?
The 5 patients are all being looked at this point by the doctors at the local hospitals.
Are they burned? Are
At
they-
this point, we know they were transported to local hospitals.
Which hospitals? Which hospitals?
We're not really going to get into say, because I think some of them may have been transferred. There may have been some diversions that may have occurred because of 5 persons creating a mass casualty incident. So I and the fire chief are not comfortable putting that out with anything to be referenced at this point in
Are
time.
they
We
family
saw-
members? Do you know if they're related?
That's all part of the investigation at this point on their manifest documents. Also, the first on-scene police officer from Manheim Township Police was on scene from dispatch within 2 minutes, and followed on within 3 minutes. The first arriving Manheim Township Fire Rescue Engine Company was on scene to start providing treatment to the patients and also extinguishment of the multiple fires.
Can you
saw
describe that,
hazmat
what it was
here.
like for them to get those people out of that plane and how?
Not at this point. We haven't debriefed with our staff yet. That will we be doing later this
It
evening.
would have had a full load of fuel just after takeoff. Can you talk about the?
Yeah, I don't know the fuel capacity on
Well, can you
takeoff
talk
of the
about what you said in
aircraft.
terms of the fire, in terms of the extent?
Yeah, obviously they had heavy fire on arrival from the aircraft and then had the extinguishment piece. So at this point, the incident is under control and fire is all out.
We believe we saw hazmat here. Were there chemical concerns with this crash?
Hazmat's here to support. Obviously, we have a unified command in place from all the disciplines and emergency services. And Hazmat's part of the cleanup due to the fuel that was on board the aircraft that also ran down the asphalt. So they're doing the containment of all that at this point.
Do you know if there's any concern for the residents here at this center?
There's not, and I don't know if anybody from Brotherton Village would like to speak about residents and sheltering in place at this point.
What's your share?
The only thing I'll throw in that as part of our response, we initially had all people on the property shelter in place just as a precaution to protect them. We didn't have all the specifics at that time. Again, to the fire chief's point, at no point on the ground was anyone injured. At no point did the plane or the aircraft strike any part of the structure. So we're very confident that all safety concerns have been addressed as far as the facility here and everyone that lives here.
Do you have? I realize this will be part of what the NTSB looks at. But do you have any way to gauge whether the pilot might have intentionally been able to avoid the buildings? I mean, it's pretty fortunate.
That is still all under investigation and from the federal partners.
Approximately how far did the plane skid before it came to a rest?
Well, I would say from our initial look, it appears that it may have skidded approximately 100 feet after it made contact with the ground.
Any fire damage to the building?
No, there was absolutely no damage to the building or structures here whatsoever.
Where was the plane headed?
We have to, I don't have access to the flight plan right now. I don't know if the airport would have anything to say.
Can you describe this fire and, you know, putting it out, I assume with jet fuel, it might have been a pretty intense fire?
Yep, we had a response from the airport with their ARF vehicle as well, and just using copious amounts of water, high volume, we were able to extinguish the fire.
Any challenges there?
No, none at all.
The plane was registered to an LLC. Was that a business based out of Lancaster Airport? Do you know?
We don't know at this point.
So at this point, we're gonna follow up through the Lancaster County PIO's office for additional questions and comments at this point. So we'll push something back out within the next 2 hours.
Is NTSB or FAA on scene now?
They are en route at this point. Thank you.
Could you say your name and your title to Mr. Burko?
Scott Little, Fire Chief, Manheim Township Fire Rescue, Manheim Township Emergency Management Coordinator.
Dwayne Fisher, Manheim Township Chief of Police.
You said NTSB and TSA are on en route?
Yes.
Okay. Spell your first one, please.
Thank you.
Let's keep all lifted up in prayers. And let me know in the comments, why do you think these plane crashes are happening so often? Like, what is going on? What is going on? This is really crazy to me. People are dying on ground. Like, the planes are literally crashing into homes and cars. Wow. Again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.